Welcome to TV, Tennessee Valley Church. Today we're in Huntsville's Bronze Spring Park. Adultery. That's today's topic. And this is a PG-13 warning for parents. Today we're going to be dealing with some mature topics. We're walking through the 10 Commandments and have come to number 7, Exodus 20:14, you shall not commit adultery. From topics like capital punishment and war last week to adultery this week, the hits just keep on coming. Seven decades ago, before the 1960s, as a society, when we were deciding on right and wrong, on what we should believe and how we should behave, we looked beyond ourselves. Our moral authority was beyond us. Somebody bigger than you and I decided what is right and wrong, and we knew the best thing was to figure out what that right and wrong was. We didn't always do right, or even always agree on what was right, but there was widespread agreement that right and wrong were determined by someone beyond us. Now, however, our moral authority for the majority of people comes from within. The authority for what we believe and practice is no longer out there, it's in here. We've come to a day when each individual has become his or her own moral authority. Right and wrong are dependent not on figuring out what our Creator wants for us, but how someone feels about things. Barbara Mandrell sang the theme song of our new morality. How can this be wrong when it feels so right? I don't want to just whine, so here's my plea. Please don't get caught in the false notion that something is right simply because you and I feel it is right. Without a moral standard, our Creator's moral standard, we're left to our own devices, and the result is a culture without a moral foundation. The result is moral anarchy. What if, for example, someone says, I feel like incest is okay. Is it okay because he or she feels it's okay? Well, of course not. What if someone feels it's okay for a 30-year-old man to have a physical relationship with a 15-year-old girl as long as that 15-year-old consents? Is it okay because someone feels it's okay? Of course not. But when the authority for what we believe and how we behave is our own gut, anything goes. Oh, Travis, you're overreacting. Well, maybe or maybe not. Listen to this lead paragraph to a story from the Wall Street Journal on January 22nd, less than a month ago. Kitty Chambliss is already planning her Valentine's Day. Her husband will make ravioli and roasted vegetables. She'll bake a cheesecake. Then she'll set a table for 3, her husband, herself, and her boyfriend. That quote comes from a Wall Street Journal article about polyamory. Polyamory is a growing trend whereby more than 2 people are in a committed, physically intimate relationship. It's not the same as swinging or open marriages. These people are committed to each other. It's just more than a husband and wife. It's usually 3, sometimes called a throuple. That Wall Street Journal article from January 22nd on polyamory reported that 22% of Americans say they have engaged in consensual non-monogamy or polyamory at some point in their life. Yes, 22%. So what's next? It's a small step from normalizing mainstreaming and celebrating polyamory to normalizing mainstreaming and celebrating adultery. So again, I offer my plea. Let's not forget that we are wonderfully made, shaped in our mother's womb by one who knows us and who loves us tenderly as a father, and who has laid out His instructions for the best living of life in Holy Scripture. Our moral authority is there, or at least should be, not here. This is not about being closed-minded and intolerant and bigoted and fundamentalist. It's about recognizing that if we're left to our own feelings, our own gut, The moral anarchy that will follow will wreck our very society. We will succumb as a society, not from the attack of a military adversary, but from our own immorality. Let's talk specifically about adultery. In the days of the Old Testament, people who committed adultery could be stoned to death. Why? Because the violation of one's wedding vows was seen as a crime not only against one's spouse and children, but also against the nation. Infidelity was seen as a blow to the community, for the community depended on strong, stable homes. Infidelity still is a blow to the whole community. Without a commitment to the covenant of marriage, the tapestry known as American society comes unraveled. Well, Travis, that's a sobering statement. That's sobering stuff, but I know my authority lies with our Creator. I know adultery is a sin. I know it's not what God planned for us. I know the marriage vows I took, and I intend to keep them. Do you have a word for me? Glad you asked. In a few minutes, I'll be back with a fairly long section just for you.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. And all my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. I have lived in the goodness of God. Oh, and all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, and your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. And your goodness is running after me. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God.
Marriage is a true gift from God. So what can we do before we get married to make sure that we have a solid, strong marriage foundation? John Lemons and Holly Knupp join us today. Thank you both for being here. You two are certified in premarital counseling. Holly, let's start with you. What do you tell a couple when they come to you for counseling?
First off, I send them a link to a 30-minute assessment online, and then we schedule about 3 to 5 sessions where we go through that assessment and we talk about finances, and we talk about expectations, and we talk about our context, like where we grew up and what we're bringing to the marriage. And once we go through that, they're able to talk to each other and go over and just bring to surface anything that may be misunderstandings or things that they need to know and talk about and be ready for.
Kind of put these things out in front of people, get them to talk about it with me, but then I always tell them to revisit them often, because as you get into the day and day of marriage, you tend to forget some of these things that you talked about, maybe some of these promises that you made. And so I just say, hey, every year on your anniversary, get the assessment back out, because it's a whole bound copy just for them and about them. And so I just tell them, like, go through it every year on your anniversary. Remember some of these things you've talked about, because you'll forget as time goes by.
When we get into a relationship, sometimes we can just get caught up in the whirlwind of it. And then engagement, couples don't think to talk about the tough topics in that time of their life. John, great advice on revisiting that on your anniversary every year.
Yeah.
What can we do if we are married to maintain that strong union?
Going to marriage retreats, or to do things that are that strengthen and remind you of those things. Just making time, being intentional on date nights, and taking advantage of opportunities of marriage enrichment classes.
When you're in a marriage, what are the things that tend to pull couples apart?
It depends on the marriage. I mean, finances are a big one, job stuff. A lot of times it's what I see is even the things that you didn't expect coming. And so, you'll get married and then things will develop down the line that you just didn't anticipate, whether it's job stuff, things with health, things with kids, whatever it is, finances. And so you run into these things along the way that there really is no training for, and there really is no ability to kind of see what's coming and prepare for it. What the assessment's designed to do is let's just get things out in the open and talk about them. So if you have a practice of doing that, then these unforeseen things that come, you may not know what to do about them, but at least you have this established practice of being open and honest and communicating with one another.
Well, thank you both. Marriage, like any relationship, can be a challenge, but well worth the effort.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
We've come to the 7th commandment. You shall not commit adultery. Adultery is an uncomfortable but necessary topic for us to cover. And here are 2 things I've learned over the years. 1, the grass is greener where it's watered. 2, you've got to establish boundaries. First, the grass is not greener on the other side of the fence, it's greener where it's watered. A few years ago, CNN did a special titled Infidelity. A correspondent asks Tim, a man who had acknowledged infidelity, "What were you getting out of the affair?" Tim answered, "My ego stroked, attention, just feeling like you're it, and it's exciting." Randy Travis sang, "Reasons I Cheat." You knew I was going to have to quote some country songs today, right? So he mentions in the song the fact that he's losing his hair and the stress of bills that are piling up, and he sings, "A lady that knows me, affection she shows me, and a smile so easy and sweet. I'm getting older, my life's growing colder, just some of the reasons I cheat." My point is that each of us needs to feel important, to feel heard, to feel appreciated, to feel attractive and interesting. We certainly have the need for both physical and emotional intimacy. So provide that for each other in your marriage. Invest in each other. Affirm and flirt with each other. Nurture your intimacy. Feed your marriage. Remember, The grass is not greener on the other side of the fence. The grass is greener where you water it. Next, every couple needs boundaries. Don't be naive. Good people, people who believe marriage is forever and cheating is wrong, have committed adultery. Malachi 2:15 reads, "Be on your guard and do not be unfaithful to your wife." Carrie and I love each other very much and are committed to our marriage of 40 years. But we don't pretend we're immune to temptation. That's why 4 decades ago, we set boundaries regarding our interaction with other men and women. Here are some good boundaries you and your spouse ought to talk about and maybe agree on. First, decide that neither of you will friend an old girlfriend or boyfriend on social media without friending his or her spouse if they have a spouse and telling your spouse. Second, decide that you will make good choices and make them together about such things as late night work assignments alone or traveling alone with someone of the opposite sex. Third, decide that you will not become the confidant of someone of the opposite sex. Don't become the person that someone of the opposite sex pours out his or her heart to. 4, decide that when one of you is out of town on a business trip, you'll speak by phone every night. 5, give each other the access codes to your phones. Don't be naive. Establish your own boundaries as a couple and stick to them. Now, let me speak even more frankly. Each weekend, I have the opportunity to speak to a number of people and the responsibility that comes with that opportunity. So let me speak candidly and directly. Odds are great that someone listening to me is engaging in an inappropriate relationship online. Perhaps while you're at work, perhaps while your spouse is asleep. You are, as one person put it, crossing the line online. I'm not just talking about pornography now. I'm talking about an alarming and increasingly common phenomenon, cybersex, an electronic explicit relationship with a stranger, 2 people sitting in front of your individual computers, carrying on an intimate and salacious conversation, most often with video. You are playing with fire. Cut it out. Odds are great that someone listening to me is presently engaged in a full-blown physical relationship outside your marriage. You must end it now. Your best hope at saving your marriage and your home is to break off the affair immediately. Come clean with your spouse under the direction of a good counselor and start to rebuild your marriage. There are no guarantees, of course, that even if you come clean, the story will end well. But if you wait until you get caught, you have very little hope of a healthy end to this story. Odds are great that a couple listening to me is reeling over the recent revelation that one of you is having or has had an affair. The good news is there's hope. One of the advantages of having been either a pastor or a missionary for 40 plus years is that I've seen a lot of hurt redeemed. I've seen couples, not many, but a few, survive affairs. The work has been hard. Regaining trust is terribly difficult. But I've seen people survive affairs and near affairs. Love and trust can be rebuilt if, and I emphasize if, both husband and wife genuinely want to make it work. Guidelines have to be put into place. The one having had the affair has to be willing to do whatever is necessary to heal the marriage. The one who was cheated on is going to have to make perhaps the most difficult decision of your life to forgive the betrayal. Candidly, after an affair, the odds are against you. But with the right help, a new beginning is possible. Odds are great that someone is walking right up to the line. You're already having an emotional affair. You're already imagining or fantasizing about something more. Maybe you're flirting and you're close to a physical relationship. If you are, you need to understand that if you cross that line, you will jeopardize some of the most important things in your life. You've heard what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, here's the truth. It doesn't. Whatever or wherever your Vegas is, whatever or wherever your secret activity is, it'll catch up to you. Numbers 32:23 reads, "Be sure your sin will find you out." And it does. An email is intercepted. A phone message or text message is accidentally discovered. Or even if you don't get caught, the shame will haunt you. So think about what it's going to be like to tell your kids what you did to break their mom's or their dad's heart. Think about how hard it's going to be to have to try and rebuild your marriage, even if it's possible. Think about what it's going to be like to try and re-earn the confidence of your friends. Think about the regrets, the scars that will remain long after the wounds will have healed. In other words, consider the whirlwind. Hosea 8:7 reads, "They sow the wind and they reap the whirlwind." What does that mean? It means we cross a line, and then the ripple effects, the pain we cause those who love us, and the regrets we end up with, the consequences of our sins are greater than we would have imagined. Sow the wind, reap the whirlwind. Turns out Hank Williams Sr. was right. Your cheating heart will make you weep. You'll cry and try to sleep. But sleep won't come the whole night through. Your cheating heart will tell on you. A man named Russell Conwell told that his father selected a piece of land close to a river in a beautiful piece of bottomland in New England. There he wanted to build his house. His neighbors came to see him, though, to offer advice. They said, "You must not build your house along the river in the bottoms. You must build it above the snake line." They explained that in the spring, the melting snows wash down driftwood, carrying hundreds of snakes, and that makes living near the rivers too dangerous. They said, "We all build our homes up the hill, above the snake line." Marriage is a wonderful but fragile gift. You and I have to make sure we build our marriages above the snake line, above the pressures and temptations that could poison our relationships. Let's make a commitment to doing those things that will affair-proof our marriages.
Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.
Thanks for joining with us today. If you're new to TV Church, my name is Aaron Jackson, and I'm the Minister of Music and Worship at First Baptist Huntsville. We'd like to invite you to one of our 2 worship services here at 600 Governors Drive. Our contemporary service is at 8:05 a.m. on Sunday, or here in the sanctuary at 10:30 a.m. We'd love for you to connect with others that join you in watching this program every week as well. The best way to make those connections would be for you to go to tvchurch.online. Once there, you can hit the Contact Us button on the left-hand side to start that process. This is also where you can begin to connect with our shared online community, submit prayer requests, watch more episodes, and find other helpful resources. Thanks again for joining us today. God bless you.